Hello, my fellow networker. It's so good to see you today. Welcome to another edition of Networking Know-How, which this is your weekly time where we get together and I share a quick tip or insight to help you network more stress-free like we do in our Down and Dirty Networking online community. And today I've got a really good one for you. It's turning those small interactions into deeper connections. How do you deepen those connections when there's just been a small interaction, whether it's been in person or online? So we're going to dig deep into that. I'm going to give you a simple framework that you can use. There's 2 3-word phrases that will make all of the difference. The best part is it's a total rinse and repeat do-over strategy. Do again and again and again. It will never get old. It just won't. So before I continue, let me go ahead and introduce myself for those that may not have connected with me yet. I'm Laura Morlando, the Stress Commando, and I am the founder and CEO of Down and Dirty Networking. And I'm coming live to you from my mom's house again, since I am a caregiver in addition to being a CEO right now. So get up and chat. I see a few of you here on live. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for tuning in. This is a discussion, a conversation, so please chime in. Let me know where you're watching from. Say hello and add commentary as something resonates with you, or if you've got something else you'd like to add and share, please drop it in the comments. I love to hear your feedback, perspectives, because that's what this is all about. All right, so let's get into it. Oh, and let me just say, if you're watching this on replay, I appreciate you. Get into the conversation as well, because I do listen to all of the comments and reply to all of them, whether they're live or on replay. So continue the conversation for those of you watching on replay. All right, so let's get into it. First up, let's talk about those small interactions. When we're talking interactions, this could be anything that you're doing with someone that just happens to be selling something at your door, or maybe the cashier, or maybe you're at a networking event. That's something a little bit more, official and formal. But you've not had a chance to go a little bit deeper with them. So these small interactions are things that could happen at a structured event, or they could just be happening throughout your day. Hey, Andrew, so good to see you. He says, Happy Wednesday. He goes, yes, I am the Stress Commando. And I appreciate that you think I am joy and happiness from Andrew. I totally love that. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. All right. So when you're talking about small interactions, Andrew would love what your thought is on this. But small interactions sometimes can go by the wayside. And what happens is we collect all of these small interactions and they never really turn into any kind of a deeper, meaningful connection. Well, here at Down and Dirty Networking, we are focused on meaningful conversations because we are 100% focused on relational networking. It's not about, hi, my name is, buy my stuff. It's not the traditional networking or transactional networking that most people associate with the word networking. We've defined it a little bit differently. It's about having meaningful conversations to learn from and about people to build authentic and lasting relationships. That is our definition of the term relational networking that we coined. And so the first tip I would tell you is to adopt a relational networking mindset, even if you're looking for the transaction. That's going to be the game changer on how you transform your small interactions to something a little bit more meaningful. So first up, you're having this casual discussion. Make sure you know how to connect with them. So let's continue the conversation. Hey, how can we best be connected? So figure out a way that you can connect, whether it be on LinkedIn, like Andrew and I are, we're connected on LinkedIn, or maybe you're connected through another social platform. Maybe they're a text person and they would prefer that you text them or email. Whatever's the best way to stay connected to continue the conversation. That's the key point. When you're having a small interaction, say, hey, I'd love to continue the conversation. What's the best way to do that? And so they'll give you their best way versus them giving you all this information that looks like they're just giving you either a physical or a digital business card and they're kind of just spamming you with info. No, and if they do that, say, well, which is of these the best way to continue the conversation? Once you've determined the best way, then what you want to do is employ these 2 3-word phrases. So hopefully you can remember these. But if you're taking notes, this is where you're going to write it down. The first one is, been thinking of you. Been thinking of you. All you have to do is reach out and say that, been thinking of you. And then the second 3-letter phrase is, how are you? Now, here's the cool part and the interesting part about the words, how are you? When we're meeting someone in a small interaction, it's commonplace to say, and Andrew, since you're here, hey, Andrew, how are you? And we say that more as a platitude, but not really anything meaningful. But when you're doing it in a follow-up and you're doing it in this way that I'm suggesting you do it, it has a different feel because you've already connected. And so you've made an initial interaction. Say, hey, been thinking about you. How are you? If they reply with something very general, say, hey, that's great, but I was genuinely, curious about you. Hope all is well. When people realize that you genuinely and authentically want to care about them and want to know, they'll tell you. This is how you take a small interaction into a deeper and more meaningful connection. And it's a game changer. So I randomly connected with somebody on LinkedIn recently, and they found out that I've been a caregiver for my mom. They reached back out to me and did this exact thing. They're like, hey, I was thinking about it. How are you? How's your mom? I was like, what fine human being for reaching out and being concerned about me? Not selling anything, not anything like that. They really wanted to know. I gave a very positive reply because I like to keep things positive. Now, the flip side, I had someone do an amazing email sales pitch. I mean, it was a textbook masterclass on how you do a cold call email sales pitch. It was really good. And so I replied and I said, no, thank you. And I told them why. In the reply, I did make mention that I was a caregiver. This person replied back like a human being, but ignored the big button items, the big softball pitches that I threw up there. So like, hey, when business turns around for you, let me know. I didn't say anything about business being bad or needing to be turned around, said nothing about that. That is an example of someone not paying attention. That is an example of someone who really doesn't care how I'm doing or what's going on, despite the fact that their email was awesome and said, I want to develop a relationship with you. No, they didn't. They just wanted to sell me something, and I'm not in the buying mode for what they have, so they were no longer interested. Now, here's the thing. I told them that if they're open to connecting with me and network with me, I knew people who were interested. That got lost. Totally got lost. So even though this person was being transactional, because they were so single focused, they were so transactional focused, and they did not have a relational networking mindset, though they said they did, they didn't follow through. If this person would have done what I said and connected with me the way I said and followed up, they would have had a very different response for me. They would have had access to all of the things that I was willing to offer for them, be it resources or connections. See, when you genuinely care about people, free of wanting any reciprocity, when you genuinely want to give and provide value, we talked about this last week. Create wow by giving freely is our number one core value here at Down and Dirty Networking. When you lean in with that, then this follow-up method that I give you makes sense. So the words, how are you, that normally feel like a platitude at the beginning, when you're following up, genuinely work and show that you care. LinkedIn is saying it's all about building rapport and building kind and supportive community. I agree. Andrew, I don't know if that's you again on LinkedIn. It's coming through as LinkedIn private user. So if Andrew, that's you, thank you. And if not, and it's someone else, thank you. I'll go back when I can get into LinkedIn and take a look at who it is. Right now, through my platform here on Talk Studio, it's not showing that to me, but thank you for the conversation. I agree. It is all about building rapport and showing that support. One of the things I hear from members in Down and Dirty Networking is they were looking for a supportive community, true support. And that's one of the things some of my corporate professionals that are in the community say, we're lacking in the corporate space, and we really appreciate that here. And my entrepreneur members, my academic members agree. They think that this is the same thing. Hey, thanks, Andrew. So my LinkedIn private user is Andrew. I thought so. Thanks for chiming in. I appreciate it. You gotta love technology. So there's always a human effort, a human element to keep us honest. So to recap, if you want to take a casual, small interaction into a more deeper conversation, make sure you know their primary way to connect to continue the conversation. And then rinse, repeat, been thinking of you. How are you? Every now and again, you just need to shoot that out there. As I'm talking, if there's someone that popped in your head that you hadn't reached back out to in a really long time, I want you to go right to the first way you know how to reach out to them, whether it's on a social media platform, whether it's, cell phone, however it is that you mainly communicate with them, and send them a message or leave them a voicemail and say, been thinking of you, how are you? And just leave it at that. You will be surprised how much more meaningful things get. Now, I'm going to give you a bonus tip. If someone feels and responds, how are you? And they say, fine, they don't go deeper with it by saying something more positive, then I would encourage you to come back and say, hey, I'm just curious what's new and exciting with you. That question changes the way you're going to get an answer potentially if someone's not used to relational networking. In my world, most everybody I connect with is used to relational networking. So when I say, how are you? When I'm following up, they genuinely let me know. Hey, this is what's new and exciting. Hey, I've got a full plate, or I'm challenged with this, but in spite of that, this is what's working well. They always frame it in a really positive way, but they give me insight so that I can support them. And when I can't figure that out, I always will ask, what is the best way for me to support you right now? And they'll tell me. And I love that. I love that they can do that. So Andrew, you can chime in the comments and let me know, or you can DM me if you prefer. Let me know the best way that I can support you, friend, because I really appreciate you. And I'm seeing he's putting a nice smiley face on there because, yes, I agree with that. So your challenge this week, my networking friend, Andrew, if you're willing to take this, please do. I want you to reach out to somebody you can think of and just say, I've been thinking about you. How are you? Super simple way to take a casual interaction, something a little bit deeper. And it's also a great way to nurture relationships with those that you do have a connection with. And then when you're out and about in your day and you're meeting those small interactions, end the conversation by saying, hey, I'd love to continue the conversation. What's the best way to stay in contact with you? The best way for me is, and then you tell them your best way. If that works for them, then great. And they connect with you that way. All right, let me know if this was helpful. Give me a thumbs up, put a comment on here, tag a friend if you think this would be helpful for a friend that needs to hear this. Maybe you tag them and say, hey, been thinking about you. That would be a really cool thing for you to do. Again, Andrew, thank you so much for joining me. I very much appreciate you. Everyone else watching live, thank you. I appreciate you for being here. And those watching on replay, thank you so much. All right, stay tuned. We've got our next Networking Know-How. We go live every Wednesday afternoon between 3:30 and 5:30, somewhere there, depending on my caregiving duties. But also check out our Facebook page and our LinkedIn page for Down and Dirty Networking. We just posted our latest issue of Networking Boost, which is our newsletter. We've got some really cool tips, features in there. So check it out. It's an easy, simple read. It continues the learning for you. And if you'd like some of these tips and you want more, you can also check out our YouTube channel. We have curated playlists for everything networking, whether you're an introvert, you're new to networking, or you're a savvy professional, but you'd really like to have fun networking all again and have more meaningfulness. There's going to be something for you on our YouTube channel. Just look for Down and Dirty Networking on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook. Thanks again for watching, and until next week, happy networking. Bye for now.